Hello everyone, it's me again. This is essentially just a kind of a walkthrough or tutorial or whatever for using stata. Now stata is an important part of module number 4 in economics, econ 0004. It's very important to know how to use stata, so I'm just going to go through how we do this. So, most of you are probably watching this because there's a tutorial assignment up and you're not entirely sure how to do things. First things first, you've got to download stata, okay? So stata is a downloadable software that's available here. So if you go to the list link up here, swdb.ucl.ac.uk / filter equals home %20 use, as you can see here, it brings up the UCL software database. This essentially gives you all the data that you can use at home, okay? Now you want to press on S here for your software, and you want to scroll down until you reach stata, which should be near the bottom, should be right here. Once you click on this, you can see the package details for stata and its availability. As you can see here, it is available for students to download and use at home, so that's good for us. We need to open the downloads menu, and you need to click the version that works for you. I'm currently using Windows, so I would click download for Windows. Now I've already downloaded it, so I don't need to do this, but once you've downloaded it, it should take you through the steps and you should be easily able to use it. What you should have left is what you can see on the left, on the right here. Now what you can see on the right is basically the stata terminal, okay? This is where everything's going to sort of happen. This main area is where all the data is shown. You have your variables over here, you have your properties of your variables, and you have your history, which is the commands that you perform. Now, let me show you where is it? Here it is. So in tutorial 1 assignment, you're given 3 pieces of data. Well, you're given 3 files. One is a DTA file. Remember, this file won't open unless you've got stata installed. You've also got a do file, which is just sort of an explanation of what you have to do. And then you've got the tutorial assignment file. So let's first of all look at the tutorial assignment file, okay? So, in the tutorial assignment file, it tells us the data is called income DTA. We want to, first of all, open a log file to keep record of analysis in the data. Now, if you click on income DTA and you already have stata installed, it should auto-load into the program. As you can see here, I've already got my variables loaded for my data set. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to describe my data, which should give me a nice little description, and then I press sum for summarize. So now I've got a description and a summary of my data. Now I know what age, sex, eth, inc, and edu mean. So it means age, sex, ethnic origin, household income, and age at which they left full-time education. Okay, so this tells me a bit more about the data. This also gives me the variables here and stuff like that. Now, in order to save this as a log file, I believe, you'll want to open a log file, essentially. Now, actually, these actions can be quite easily described in the do file. As you can sort of see here, here's the do file. This is sort of takes you through the tasks you need to do. Okay, so a log, you type log and then using, and then you can set your file name. Here, I'm just going to use log file .log as my name. I believe that works. Yep. And then we're going to just type replace afterwards. Just in case any file is also using that name, we're going to overwrite it. Okay. Now we have a log file. The first bit is done. Okay. Now we need to describe the variables and summarize their means, variances, and ranges. Okay. So what you can do is sum age. So for example, yeah, you can see here that you can summarize each variable individually, but typing sum just gives you all of them. So it's much easier to do that. Hold on, let me expand this a little, just so I can, this looks a little nicer. Yeah, there we go. So now we've summarized all our variables. Now we need to list the characteristics of all 30-year-old white respondents, okay? So how do we actually do that? So, looking at our do file, you can actually see that it's done a simple thing. By the way, describe all no longer works. So if I was to show you describe _ all, as you can sort of see. Hold on, let me copy paste just so I'm completely clear. Look at this. If I type in describe underscore all, oh, it does do the same. Look at that. So describe underscore all or sum underscore all will do the same thing as the others, okay? But you need to remember to put a space between the underscore and the describe, or the underscore and the variable, okay? You can also come up with tables for each of these. So a table, this would be the table of ages, okay? So this shows you how many people are how many ages, okay? You can also do this with all others. So you've got tab of sex, which shows you how many people are male and how many people are female. You can also tabulate by, I believe that's ethnicity, yep. Here it's quite simple, it's just saying white and non-white. And here we also get a tab by education, so how people were educated. So you can see here that a large majority of people left full-time education at the age of 17 or 18, and then less left later on. So you can see that. Okay, now what we need to do is now list the characteristics of all 30-year-old white respondents. So the list variable, basically you can set a rule. So we're going to start by saying list, then inc. So inc is a command that basically means include, and we're going to write edu. So we're including education if the age of the participant is equal, we write equal twice, just to make it sure. So we're basically saying that we will list all the characteristics of their education. Okay, as they can say here, list all the characteristics of 30-year-old white respondents if their age is 30. Okay, and I believe it's and. Is it and? By the way, you can get a lot from this. And the and symbol has to be used here. Their ethnicity is equal to 1, because 1 here represents white. Okay, there you go. So these are the three people that include that. Okay, so you can also include a lot more other things. So inc means income in this case, and edu means education. Okay, and we know that their age is 30 and their ethnicity is 1. Okay. So actually, let's just break this down. So we know what their age, sex is. We don't know what their sex is actually. So what if we did list inc edu sex if age is equal to 30 and eth is equal to 1. This will give us the age. This will give us the sexes. So essentially, what you include in your list is what appears, and then you have the rules here, which we don't include within our list because it would be unnecessary. Just to show you guys why it's unnecessary, what happens if I actually include age and eth in these? Well, it's useless because they're all 30 and white, so we don't need to know this information. Okay? All right, so now it wants us to draw a histogram for this, for income. Construct a new variable equal to the logarithm of income, and then draw a histogram of this variable and comment. Okay? So we need to construct a new variable with the logarithm of income and draw a histogram. So we basically need to create a brand new variable here. Okay? First of all, we need to start by drawing a histogram. So histogram. Thankfully, stata uses quite a textual programming language, so writing out stuff is quite easy. So histogram included. Okay, this basically just gives me a histogram for income. So you can see here, immediately, I have a histogram for the income of just the people in my data set. So you can see that the majority of people are centered around 4,000, well, actually at the lower end, and they have a higher density there. And then as it tapers off quite quickly, you've really got very slight people at higher incomes. Okay, so that we're going to import a graph. We're going to export this graph. Okay, so export this graph. Graph export inc.pdf. And then we're going to replace. So we're basically saying that this is the income PDF. Now I'm actually going to call it income histogram just to make sure it's a little easier for me to remember. No graph window open. Oh yeah. Okay, sorry, you have to keep the graph open while doing that. This is why I do it before you guys do. And then I do that now. There we go. Now I've saved it as a PDF format. Now if I go to my downloads, where did I save that? Oh no. Income histogram. Where did I save that? Oh, it's here. Where is that? Where's it gone? Oh, it's in downloads. Is it in downloads? Oh, it's in downloads. There it is. So you can see I've now saved it to my downloads. Okay. I can change the style of it, but that's not really necessary. Okay. Now, it wants us to create a new variable equal to the logarithm of income. So we've already done the draw histogram. Now we need to construct the new variable. Okay. So the new variable is done by essentially saying that we're going to generate. Okay. So gen is generate. The logarithm of income, this is the name of our variable, which is equal to the logarithm bracket of income. Okay, and then we can tab loginc just to see what it looks like. So now we've got a tabulated form of basically the attributes of log. So you can see that they're all in between there. And then what we're going to do is now we're going to generate a histogram for this. Again, it's quite easy. Histogram of loginc is just going to be like that. Now we've got a bit more of an easy one to think about. And then we're going to graph that. How are we going to do that? We're going to use our previous one. So we're going to do graph export log of income histogram dot PDF, I believe. We want to save this in PDF file. And then we want to replace as well, just to make sure. So this will also open up a new one for us. As you can see here, now we've got it here. Hooray! Both of those are done. Okay, now we want to draw separate histograms by ethnic origin, and then we want to comment on any difference visible. Okay, so now we need to draw separate histograms. So what are we actually going to do? You can see that I'm cheating here by just looking at the do file, but this is essentially how it works. Okay, this is essentially will teach you how to do it. Okay, so we've also got cap graph drop non-white. Okay, so what does this do? Let's see. Cap graph drop non-white. Okay, so this hasn't. What does this do? So what does the command cap do? Okay, let's see. I'm just reading through what happens here. Yeah. So we want to essentially, yeah, here we go. So what does cap graph drop do? Cap graph drop stata. So syntax. This is always good to look at these things. So cap graph. Okay, clearly I've made a mistake. There's cap graph drop. Capture the graph and drop. Okay, we're basically saying, well, just clean up the data, I assume this one means. Oh, there, that's the recording software. Okay, there we go. That's my tasks. Go away. So we're also going to do this with non-white participants. Cap graph drop white. And then we're going to generate the histogram. So histograms can work by a variety of rules. So histogram of log inc. So we're saying the log income, we're creating a histogram of it if the ethnicity of the person is equal to 0, which means then not white. Then we also state the name of this as non-white. Okay. Now, this is what it looks like. So you can see that the histogram states that about the log of income is a bit, it slopes down a bit more evenly. Okay. Now, if we create a similar graph for white people, if eth equals to 1, name white. Oh dear. What did I do wrong in that one? Something's gone wrong. Histogram logging if eth name white. EHT not found. Well, isn't that great? Okay. What did I do? Let me try that again. Histogram of log income. If F equals 0, we need 1 with the name of white. What's gone wrong? There it is. Okay. So if we actually look back at our data, how many people in our data set were actually white? So you can see that 126 people are white, which means obviously they're going to have a higher density. You can see that this is more of a curve here. So you can see that the average sort of bumps around the middle, and you've got that sort of thing there. You can also export these, but we're also going to combine these graphs. So graph combines them both, and we're going to say non-white and white. This is basically we're now adding those labels in because we named them earlier. So now we're going to combine those graphs. So as you can see, now we've got both graphs side by side, which is a very useful little statistic. And what we're going to now do is we're going to save that export as white and non-white income. Is that an income? I think it's an income thing. Histogram. And I'm going to save it as a PDF. All right, and then we're going to replace anything. Remember to always do like replace or something like that. And then we get, when it comes up, downloads, there it is. And then we've got our PDF. How lovely. Okay, so what difference can we actually see in this graph? Well, we can see quite clearly that the income sort of drops quite significantly once we go lower in the non-white category. And then in the white category, it sort of banks like this. Now, we could actually say that because there's less data we're getting in terms of non-white people, that means that we may not see an entirely representative visualization, because as we remember from our sort of little summary here, okay, only 16% of the 16 participants or 11% of the participants were non-white. So we don't have an entirely representative sample. So we'll probably withhold any strong conclusions, but we can mostly say that, given what I've got in front of me, you can say that the density is much higher at lower incomes for non-white people, and then slopes down, and rather than white people that have a parabolic shape and a lower density for each. So you could say that. You got a lot lower densities. So it's a lot lower density at the poorer levels, and then you need parabolic arc. Okay, now we need D. So we need to generate a discrete variable recording whether household income exceeds 10,000 and tabulate this against ethnic origin. Okay, how do we do this? I don't know, let me look. Okay, so we're going to generate another variable, which is called high income, or high inc, and this is defined by the set in which income exceeds the value of 10,000. Okay, so now we've done that. Okay, then we're going to tabulate high inc just to see what we're doing with. Tab is a very important tool. So as you can see here, number 1, basically 1 represents that it actually did work at this point. So you can see that 66 or 46% of the people are under 10,000 and 53% are over. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. As it says here, is tab high inc by ethnic origin. So now we're going to separate it by ethnic origin. Eth. So we can see now the distribution of which high income people are white and non-white. This helps just to give a two-way table. So you can see that the majority of high income people are white, but still the majority of low income people are white. So you could very much say that there is a racial part of this, a racial inequality in the income divide. But then again, we do have limited data, so we should hold off on any strong conclusions at this point. The do document also suggests doing this as a column, so let's try that. Okay, so now you should get this as a sort of a column. This also gives you, I think that's percentage. Is that percentage? Yeah, I think it is percentage. So you can see that 68% of non-white participants were low income and 31% were high, whereas 56% of whites were high and 43 were low. So you can see that there is somewhat of more of a difference here, because now you've got that representation of percentage difference. Now we're going to do tab stat, which is a table of statistics for high income separated by the ethnic, okay? So what this does is it essentially gives you the statistics for high income, which is separated by ethnicity. So what are these statistics that you can get from this data? So you can also see here that the mean ethnic, the mean income, see, so we know that 0 is low income and 1 is high income. So you can see that the mean for non-white people is 3.125, okay, which is a lower mean than white people. So you've got 0.564343921. So this would suggest that a greater proportion of high income people that we're calling here are white, okay? Again, because we do not have enough data to properly make a conclusion here, okay, because there are only 16 non-white people in this data set. If we wanted a representative data set, we would ask for 100 white people and 100 non-white people, and then we'd compare, okay? But because it's such a little proportion, then we can't really compare them accurately, okay? But we can make some informed decisions, and here it does suggest that there is a racial discriminatory element. Okay, now we need to draw a scatter plot. I forget what the scatter plot thing is. What do they say to do for scatter plot? Yeah, it's just scatter. So scatter means that you're going to include income on one axis and education on the other. This should show it. Give it a moment. Is it gone? Did it generate it? Did it not? Okay, scatter, inc, edu. There we go. Okay, so you can't have more than one graph open at once. So this doesn't particularly help because it's a discrete variable. Okay? The problem is like age of, it's not great. Mostly because age is a discrete variable, so it doesn't really work there. So it's a little weird. We can export this. Hold on, let me just move the graph over here so you guys can see it at the same time. So now we're going to export graph. The graph that is currently open is always listed as graph in the code. So you will say graph, and this will be, where's my thing? There it is. Age versus house, hold on. Age left education versus household. You want your titles to be informative because you need to know what they are before you click on them, okay? If they're not informative, then you're going to be like, what is this graph? And you're always going to be clicking on things. Graph. Unknown subcommand graph. Did I spell that incorrectly? Or did I do it incorrectly? Let's see. Oh, sorry. So you need to do graph export. I did it the wrong way around. That is very poor form of me. There we go, now it's saved. Okay, and now if I open this up, you should see, hooray, there's our graph. Okay, cool. So you can see a discrete variable recording. Okay, so this is essentially the discrete variable recording because you're essentially generating a scatter graph in this case. Oh wait, no, pardon me, that was not what I meant. So yeah. What do you learn? Explain carefully assumptions needed to justify differences between column percentages and measure. Okay, let me address D here. Explain carefully assumptions needed to justify the difference between column percentages as a measure of economic discrimination measured by non-white households. Paying particular attention to the issues of measurement error, omitted variables and simultaneity. Comment on the reasonableness of assumptions required in each of these respects. Okay, measurement error. There could be some errors in measurements, okay? So, especially in D, when we commented on sort of the high income and low income of white people and non-white people, we can definitely say, you see there are 11 and 5 people here. In any self-respecting study, that is not a high enough amount of people that is representative of the group. So we've essentially omitted enough. That's sort of like an error in measurement. We may have also omitted variables that may explain why this is the case, or or perhaps the way you're measuring income is not entirely valid. So you can see here that income is measured in, household income is measured in pounds per year. These people might have wealth. Okay, so instead of measuring income, we should be measuring wealth. Okay, this essentially shows you that it might not be entirely correct to measure it this way. Simultaneity. I don't actually know what that is. Simultaneity is, what is that? What is simultaneity? Let's look at the free dictionary. Happening at the same time. Is that it? Literally it? Simultaneity? Wikipedia. This is boring. Basically happening at the same time, I'm assuming? Yeah. So, yeah. So, I don't know. Simultaneity may be not something I can approach. Happening at the same time. I'm not entirely sure what it means by that. If any of you know, please do let me know. But anyway, we were on E. Draw a scatter plot of income against years of education. We've done that. Calculate the correlation between these variables. Now, how do we calculate correlation? Okay, well, we only need to look at this. So we need to calculate the correlation. It's simple as correlate. Okay, so correlate between income and education. Okay, that's as the simplest thing. Okay, and as we can see here, it's going to generate a sort of a table. So first of all, we're not including education and income because this would give you essentially the same value. Obviously, the correlation between income and education is 1, but you can see that the correlation between both of them is 0.1737, which indicates less of a correlation coefficient than we would like. It's a weak correlation. Okay, now we want to correlate again between income and education, but this time for the covariance. So we're going to be getting the covariance. So you can see that the covariance in this case is about 6,522. So that's about the covariance when it comes to the variables. Okay. Yeah, so your correlation between these variables is higher education associated with greater income. As we can see from the correlation coefficient, not necessarily, because although there is a positive relation between them, it is a weak one. So it is not necessarily correlated. It is somewhat correlated, which isn't enough to stipulate like any policy decisions or anything like that, because it's definitely not strong enough. Now let's look at F. Okay, you can see this is essentially more tab, stat, and table stuff. Are non-white respondents less well educated in this data set? So first of all, tab stat, which means we're going to get a table of statistics of education by ethnicity. Okay, so we're basically grouping education by ethnicity, and then getting the stats for the mean, the standard deviation, and the count. Okay, thankfully you don't have to put many things in here. So this essentially gives us, as you can probably see, tab stat. Oh, always misspellings. You always misspell something, don't you? That's always how it works. It's always you misspell one thing. Okay, you can see here what we've done is that we have, from our thing, grouped education. Okay, grouped the group education by ethnicity. So this is the group of educated people. Okay, we've grouped them by their ethnicity, so we're getting the education, and then we are giving essentially statistics on the education of these people. Okay, so you can see that the education level for non-white people are generally 18. Okay, so that is the mean level that non-white people leave school. The standard deviation is 1.15, and the number of people is 16. We can see that white people generally would leave on average later. And we can see that the standard deviation is also much higher, and the number of people is also much larger. Now, what we also want to do is create a table explaining to what extent are ethnic differences in income apparent within these education groups. So we're creating a table of ethnicity and education. First of all, if I did that just by that, it would give you that. Okay, so you can see that education is on the top and then ethnicity is on this side. So that's just a normal table. But this time I'm going to do table, eth and edu. Oh, I don't need to put a comma there. There we go. Eth and education. with the contents with a mean and ink. So let me see what you get here. Option contents not allowed since stata 17. Command contents is not recognized. Okay, let's check. Contents. There is no contents thing. That's nice. So they've essentially not given me that. To what extent are ethnic differences in income apparent within education groups? Okay, fine. Let's just go for table edu. And then we're going to include stats on that. So table edu stats on mean and ink. Did that work? No. The variable stats was not found. Was it now? Was it not now? This is fun. Okay. So what happened to the contents thing? See, totals, no totals. Where has contents gone? Col vars. Table col spec? No, that can't be it. So it's contents. Well, stats works. So let me search for stats that maybe come alongside it. So stats peg, statistic, free stats. Yeah, this seems to be somewhat weird. And plus, where's ink? Ink was supposed to be included within it, right? So find ink. And be including. Okay, where's the ink thing? Okay, weird. That final one is not giving me what I want. Table edu. What if we just copy this outright? Let's see if it works. No, it doesn't. So contents has not been allowed since stata 17. So where is the updated syntax? Let's search it. Updated syntax for contents stata. Always use Google when you need to. Is this literally the same thing? Okay. Contents. Again, it doesn't show you what the command is for contents now. That's nice. That's real nice. Okay. So, I'm probably going to have to tell you about this. So what extent are ethnic differences in income apparent within education groups? So let's just look at the table we've got here. So, education differences, you can see non-white has a lot of centralization at lower ends, okay? And then you've got white at that. Actually, let's do something else. So, normal distribution stata. How do you generate a normal distribution thing? Oh, we're going here, do we? Normal. So we've got normal distribution, all this sort of stuff, binomial. Okay. What if I essentially say normal of, can I do normal? Let's see, right? Whenever I'm exporting something like that. Yeah, it's scatter including, so normal including something. Does scatter get highlighted blue? It does. Okay, let's look at all the graph types. All graph types, stata. Visual overview for creating graphs. Here we go. So this page will probably give it to me. Time series plots, regression flow, distribution, dot, bar charts. Dear God, that looks terrible. Distribution graphs. Here we go. So we want something like this. So what would this be? Yeah. Web use SP. PDF doc entries. So this would be histogram. Ah, so it's histogram V1 normal. v1 normal, including income. Oh no, variable v1 not found. Oh, okay, no, never mind. So you do histogram of income normal. That must be it, right? There it is. Okay, so this is all the income. All right, that's good. So then what if we stratify by ethnicity? So we basically... so what was our first command? So we were stratifying by different ethnicities and stuff like that. So we were essentially saying that, yeah, so we're creating new variables. Histogram, yeah. So histogram income, if, let's say if ethnicity, yeah, if ethnicity is 0, then also normal. Does that work? Yes. Okay, so this is non-white participants, and you can see the distribution there. And then we're going to repeat this for white participants. And then we're... Oh, we should probably call these... Oh, damn it. Sorry, we should have called these graphs names. We wanted to call them... Yeah, call them white and non-white. Damn it. Okay. Name... Oh, sorry, I should put comma there. Name non-white. Oh, was that not the correct command? Hold on. I am flying blind here. Oh, maybe I should, if I delete the comma, maybe that'll work. Graph non-white already exists. Oh, yeah, because I didn't clear that. Okay. Name non-white normal. There we go. Now I've done it. And then need to rename this as white normal. And then we want to combine graph or graph combine. What was it? Combine graph or graph combine? Let's check. Graph combine. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it is graph combine. Combine non-white normal and white normal. Please work. Yes! Okay. They can't overlay, but this sort of helps to see the distribution there. Yeah. What was the actual question there? Let's check. Are non-white respondents less well-educated in this data set? Okay, what extent are ethnic differences in income apparent within education groups, and what can be concluded from this? See, the thing is, what the actual stata is, what the do file is recommending here, uses something that isn't currently in use. Okay, so something like table edu, okay, and then contents mean and income, okay, doesn't work, because contents doesn't work in this case. What was not included? See, it's very annoying just to not get that. But then that closes the log file, so now then you're just stopped. Yeah, hold on. Let me pause this, and then I'll get back to you guys on what the solution I've got is. Hello again. It turns out the do file is failing me here, and I'm trying to find a fix for the issue of the contents function not appearing. But there doesn't appear to be one. So I tried doing it manually, and I'm not getting much success about it. So it's a shame. I'd say bring this up at your tutorial when you have it, because I can't seem to manage it. So if anyone has a solution for this, please feel free to contact me or whatever. Anyway, I think that's it. I think I've showed most of these things. To close the file, you just say log close, and it's done. So your file is saved, essentially. And then if you look at your stuff here, you go back to your log file, it shows you all the stuff you did. So here's the log file and basically everything that happened. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all. Hope you guys have a nice evening, and yeah, see you later.